Welcome to Little Seeds of Faith, a podcast where children help read a treasured Bible story, and we get a chance to explore and talk about the lessons we learn. Hi, my name is Joanie, and I love reading. My most treasured book to read is the Bible. The Bible has great adventures, love stories, stories of hope and truth, and most importantly, stories of faith.
Well, hello. Welcome to Little Seeds of Faith. I'm here with somebody special today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, Joanie. It's fine. It's great finally meeting you. I feel so privileged joining you here today. I've heard a lot of your podcasts in WCF website, and I really love them, so I'm very excited. My name is John Carla Gasca. I'm 11 years old, and I live in Calacanis City, Philippines. I have two older brothers, and I'm the youngest among three.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you and finally get to meet you. It's been a long time since we've been waiting to do this, and I'm glad we're finally getting to it.
Yeah.
So do you have three things that you make you that you're interested in?
Yes, I love my food, and that's why I'm interested in cooking. And I also love playing piano. I'm a beginner and just started my lessons last June. I also love doing outdoor activities such as swimming.
Well, that's great. And so you like to cook.
Yes,
Do you cook every day or once a week?
maybe in breakfast.
Okay,
Sometimes I also cook for myself in lunch.
that's really good. So, Carl, what Bible story are we reading today?
I like to share with everyone the story and the lessons from the book of Jonah.
It's a really great, fun story. And we're going to get into reading it. And let's see, do you know anything about Jonah?
Jonah is a Hebrew. He is a prophet, and his father is called Amittai.
So he has a own book of the Bible to himself. It's in the Old Testament amongst all the other prophets. And he definitely has a very interesting story that something happens to him that doesn't happen to anybody else that we know of. It's really good. So shall we begin reading?
Yes, sure.
Okay, great. So we're just going to be reading from Jonah chapters 1 through 3. There's a fourth chapter, which we're not going to read, which is also very interesting, what happens kind of after these main events. But this is the kind of the fun part of the story that we're going to be reading today. So Jonah chapter 1 is where we're going to be beginning. The word of the Lord came to Jonah.
Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me.
But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for the port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. And they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. Carl, have you ever been on a boat?
Yes, actually, but it's not a really big boat. It's just a small boat for just a crossing to an island.
Okay, so just a small boat. All right,
Yeah.
so I've been on a boat. We used to go sailing when I was younger, and I remember being in storms. Have you seen videos of boats in storms and how they look, and they're tossing and turning? You can get quite sick. People get quite sick when they're in storms on boats. How do you think Jonah was able to sleep in a boat in a storm?
He gone below deck, so I think it's very quiet there and very peaceful. But if you go outside, I think it will be very wet and all wavy.
Yes, all wavy. So in the bottom, maybe he was rocked to sleep, like a baby in a cradle, being back and forth, rocked to sleep, and he was just sleeping. So this is a violent storm, and the people that were on the boat, they're sailors. These people had been in storms before, because in boats, this is what their job was. So definitely they would have been out on the water in a storm before, but this storm has made them very scared. It's a very different storm, bigger storm they've ever had.
Yeah.
And we have Jonah, who's just sleeping like a baby down below deck, not a care in the world, right?
Yeah.
So the captain of the boat goes and says to him, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Question here, Carl. Do you know what casting lots are?
I think it's you know when you turn a bottle, and when the bottle fell on someone, he will tell the question that they're asking.
Yeah, so like spitting the bottle and
Yeah.
it lands on somebody and that person has to answer the question. Yeah, it was something like that. So whether they use like rocks, like, there's 6 black rocks and 1 white rock, and whoever gets the white rock is the person who has to answer the questions, and everybody
Yeah.
else is fine. Or sometimes you see them using sticks, so all the sticks are the same size, except for 1 stick is smaller. So that's what casting lots are. So they would cast a lot. So they said there's 10 men on the ship, 10 things, 1 is different. And so this lot, the one different thing, whatever they used, landed on Jonah. And they're saying, okay, well, this storm is because of him, because of Jonah. So they asked Jonah some questions. They said, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" But he answered,
I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land.
This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" For they knew he was running away. For they knew he was running away from the Lord, because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher. So they asked him, "What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?" Because they're saying, "We haven't done anything wrong. You've done something wrong. You're God." Because these people didn't believe in the one true God. They had other gods they had believed in. And so they're like, what, okay, you need to do something here. It says you're God who is doing this because you've done something wrong. So what does he say?
Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you.
Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, "Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man. For you, Lord, have done as you pleased." And so here they are all thinking that Jonah is asking to die, right?
Yeah.
He's thrown me
Yeah.
over into the storm. I'll die in this water because it's rough, stormy water. And do the sailors want to do that?
No.
No. No, they don't want to take a man's life. They're like, no, like, what can we do? So they try rowing into shore. That doesn't work. And so they kind of feel stuck. So let's see what happens. So then they've had enough of the storm. So they take Jonah and they throw him overboard. And the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Which is interesting here that these men who are not God-fearing men, now they see what he has done, a great act of God. There was a storm, now there isn't a storm. They now are worshiping and sacrificing to the Lord, which normally they would not have done. So now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. And so we have in chapter 2 of Jonah, so that's chapter 1. In chapter 2 of Jonah, it is his prayer, which is a beautiful prayer.
When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thy holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord.
Right? It's just beautiful there. So
Yeah.
after 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a big fish, the Lord commands the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time.
Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you.
Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city, proclaiming.
40 more days and the Nineveh will be overthrown.
The Ninevites believed God. A fast was proclaimed, and all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on sackcloth. When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction he had threatened. So that's our reading. Thank you for reading that with me. What was the part that makes you extra excited?
I like the part when Jonah was swallowed by the great big fish before he almost drowned into the deep sea, because I could not imagine the feeling inside there. Must be so dark, slimy, and very stinky, and how he survived for 3 days and 3 nights.
Yeah, I think you think about that. So here's the question, right? So you see pictures of a man inside of a whale. Do you think I've seen pictures of a man kneeling, able to kneel and see inside a big fish and a big stomach? Do you think there was lots of room in there, or do you think it was a small, tight space that he was in?
Maybe it is a lot of room because a whale is a big fish.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can be lots of room. Like, I don't know what the stomachs are like, really. Like, are they, but I think for most part, stomachs are kind of tight spaces. They're, I don't know. I don't want to think about being stuck in a small space for 3 days and 3 nights. It definitely would have smelled a little
Yeah.
fishy. And what do you think would happen to his skin?
It would probably burn, and
Why
it
is that?
will, because our stomach has acids,
Mhm.
and if you swallowed it, it will decompose and it will become just a little bit of parts.
That's right. So after 3 days of being inside a great fish, Jonah's skin would have been a bleached white.
Yeah.
He would definitely look a different appearance. And so when he was vomited, which is, not only was he swallowed by a whale or a big great fish, he was vomited onto the land by this big fish. People would have known something happened to him.
Yeah.
His body would have changed for sure, and he probably smelt just not very nice. So if you were inside of a great stomach of a great fish, do you think you would be able to? What would your feelings be like?
I would feel pretty scared because I really don't know what's gonna be inside there and what's gonna happen to me. But I will have faith in God that He will always save me.
Yeah, I mean, he'll take care of you, right? He
Yeah.
definitely will take care of you, whatever the circumstances is. Can you tell me about Jonah's faith during this time?
Jonah showed faith despite being disobedient to God. He knew that the storm was sent by God because of his refusal to accept his preaching work to Nineveh. He prayed for help, asked forgiveness, and also praised God. For the second time, Jonah followed God and served by preaching the people of Nineveh. God gave Jonah a second chance because he knew that he was a faithful man.
Like, if God asked you to do something, wouldn't you think you would do it the right way the first time?
No, because we will have incorrect doings, we will have errors.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens a lot. Like, if your mom or dad asks you to do something, sometimes you take your time to do it, right? You're like, oh, I'll get to it
Yeah.
later or something, right? But this time, you don't really want to do it. This was Jonah's attitude at the beginning was, I don't really want to do this. So he walks away and he tries to do things his way instead of the way God asks him. Along the way, I think his faith definitely gets changed, and he definitely, the second time around, he doesn't hesitate to go and do what God asks him to do. And he definitely has, I think, is to see his faith growing there for sure. So, Carl, can you tell me about a time in your life where you've had to have faith?
Yeah, sure. There was a time in school when I broke something that did not belong to me. I was so afraid at first, so I kept quiet too. But I felt uneasy, so I prayed to God to help me give confidence, to open up to my teachers, and to tell them that it was my fault. So I took a deep breath and told my teachers and students that it was my fault. It was a relief, actually. So I prayed and thanked God again for helping me.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that what you just said happens a lot to people. They do something and they break something, or they do something wrong, and they want to hide. Like, that's what Jonah did, right? He was doing the wrong thing, and he went to hide. He hid in the bottom of a ship, and it didn't quite work out for him. And I think, definitely when I was younger, it's things like that. I'd do something and I tried to hide it because I was embarrassed. I didn't want to get in trouble. Um, but it's really when you go and you do the right thing and you tell somebody right away, you find out that you're actually not in trouble, right? They're like, just thank
Yeah.
you for telling me. Thank you for being honest. Um, it's a good life lesson there, to being honest when something goes wrong, and more than likely the people that you have to go to are just thankful that you told the truth.
Yeah.
So afterward, I mean, definitely a great relief, and I love that you. This is a common theme when I talk to kids, that something has come up that has scared them, or they're a little uncertain, and they pray to God, and they feel confident after that. And I think it's a really good lesson and a good thing for us to remind us when we are nervous or we're unsure of what's going to happen, that we should be praying, and God definitely calms us down. It's really great.
Yeah.
So do you have 2 questions about the story of Jonah that you'd like to ask, and see if your friends can figure out the answers later on?
Yeah. Why did Jonah not obey God's command to go to Nineveh? Can we run away from God?
I like those questions. Yeah. Why did he run? That's something to definitely think about and have a conversation about. Why did he run, and can we run away from God? I know lots of people, I don't know lots of people, but I know people try to run away from God. And I don't think you can, because it's in your heart. It weighs on you. Just like when you broke something, it sticks with you. It weighs on you that you know that something wrong has happened, and
Yeah.
you're trying to hide from it. And it doesn't make you feel very good. And thank you for those questions. And I hope people have good conversations on those questions. And so before we say goodbye, Carl, and I really appreciate all the work you put into this, and
Yes.
it's been really great. So do you have words of wisdom, a joke, or a fun fact that you're going to share?
Yeah, sure. I have words of wisdom and also I have a fun fact
Okay,
to
great.
share with the people. Is that okay with you?
That is perfect.
Okay. My words of wisdom is God is willing to forgive us even if we are sinners. Just like Jonah and the people in Nineveh, God is always great towards good and bad people. And also my fun fact is, did you know that the blue whale is one of the largest animal ever lived and can grow up to 90 or more feet and weighs as much as 24 elephants? That is more than 330,000 pounds. Isn't it amazing? Do you think that's the kind of fish that swallowed Jonah?
You actually added an extra question at the end there. Yeah, the blue whale. It's a huge whale. I don't know if I want. I'm fascinated by the blue whale. I don't know if I want to see it in person or not. I see it in pictures. It's so big. I don't. It's amazing. The people that can go up, and I think they're pretty gentle too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. They're not going to necessarily eat you. But the blue whale, I don't know. I don't know. That's a pretty big whale to be where he was. Where they were up at the in the Mediterranean. you look at the map and the ocean,
Yeah.
the sea that he was on. But thank you so much for that, Carl. I love it.
Yeah.
I hope this podcast planted a little seed of faith in you today. If you would like to read with me, go to wcfoundation.org. Click on the Little Seeds of Faith icon, scroll down, and there you'll find a spot that says Apply Here.
Did you know that some of our outreach programs help those in financial, medical, and emotional crisis? Bad things happen in the lives of many. We believe in helping those who have stumbled. This includes assisting in the cost of emergency medical procedures, help to those who have lost employment or those facing a sudden challenge due to emotional difficulties. If you would like to donate, please visit wcfoundation.org and look for the link Invest in